A new chapter in the potential Lawson swap. Tsunoda and even Colapinto have now entered the picture, and we're going to discuss this now. Hello, friends of Pole Position News. Welcome to another video about the possible driver swap between Lawson and Tsunoda, which might take place after the Japanese Grand Prix. However, over the weekend, there were mentions that it could happen even before the Japanese Grand Prix. This could be a fantastic opportunity for Yuki Tsunoda to race a home with Red Bull. Tsunoda has defended himself several times, saying that during tests with Red Bull, he performed very well, and the car suits his driving style perfectly. He even made some subtle remarks when asked if he would be ready to take over the car in Japan, replying, 100%. Up to this point, we were expecting some speculation, but now there's new information, and it doesn't look good for Lawson. It seems that there will be some sort of change, or at least it's under consideration at Red Bull. So, I'll start from beginning here. It seems that Lawson's data from these initial races, let's say the first three, including the sprint, shows that Sergio Perez, driving last year's car, which is much slower than this year's, has been faster than Liam Lawson on these tracks. Not only that, but the gap between Perez and Verstappen was also smaller. So, Lawson is facing a double challenge. He's relatively farther from Verstappen in a direct comparison, and he's still slower than Perez at times. This suggests a deficit of at least 1 to 1.5 seconds. It's almost as if Lawson is driving a 2024 car, while Verstappen is in a 2025 Red Bull. To give you an idea, the results have been disappointing. Perez's average gap to Verstappen was 0.7, while Lawson's gap has been around 0.8, with the added issue of not being able to handle corner entries as aggressively and confidently. Apparently, there's a problem with both high and medium speed corners, as well as low speed ones. In other words, Lawson doesn't have confidence in the car, and even tried a different setup at the last Grand Prix, but it didn't help. We know that Red Bull's car is more sensitive, aggressive, and requires precise driving within a very narrow window. Verstappen adapts very well to this, and before anyone says that the car is built for Verstappen, Alexander Albon has already debunked this theory. But Verstappen's ability to understand this car is exceptional, and that's made a huge difference. So, you may wonder, does this mean they're going to remove him after just 2 or 3 races? Well, here's what Red Bull is officially saying. Lawson has potential, but he still needs a bit more help. He's had some difficult weekends, and the media is putting pressure on him, which is natural. They plan to make things easier for him. But what does easier mean? Will they move him to another team and keep him as a reserve? What's the plan here? To make matters worse for Lawson, Helmut Marko recently praised Yuki Tsunoda after the Chinese Grand Prix, saying that Tsunoda is in the best shape of his life. He's a completely different Yuki from what we've seen in previous years. He's much more mature, and everything seems to be working for him. Christian Horner also mentioned that they are assessing Lawson's situation, but tried to be more diplomatic, saying that they wouldn't comment directly on a possible change because that would make headlines worldwide. They're going to work with Lawson to do what's best for him. So, there's clearly an issue at Red Bull, and they're trying to resolve it. Usually, Christian Horner tries to contradict Helmut Marko in these statements, but this time he didn't. He confirmed they're evaluating the situation and will analyze the data to make a decision. Then, to make Lawson's situation even worse, a rumor started in Spain that Franco Colapinto could join Racing Bulls, with Tsunoda moving to Red Bull. This would completely remove Lawson from the equation. Where did this come from? Helmut Marko was spotted at Alpine's hospitality during the Chinese Grand Prix, which is unusual. He might have been negotiating Colapinto's loan. Colapinto was approached by Red Bull during that period last year as well. The fact that Helmut Marko was seen at Alpine raised the possibility that they could be discussing Colapinto joining them, which would relieve some pressure on Jack Doohan, who would benefit from this at Alpine. There's also confirmation that Helmut Marko said there will be an emergency meeting at Red Bull's Milton Keynes headquarters to figure out what they can do to close the gap to the other teams. They're a bit worried, but they're not giving up, and they need to score as many points as possible. So, Helmut Marko confirms there's an alert at Red Bull, and I highly doubt they will hold an emergency meeting just to discuss Verstappen not finishing in first place. I believe this emergency meeting is about what to do with the second driver, the person who's supposed to support Verstappen, especially with McLaren having two drivers who are regularly scoring points at the top, and Ferrari also having that potential. Mercedes will still need some time to develop Antonelli. So, Red Bull is in a tough spot because of the four major teams right now. They're the only one with just one driver. Antonelli is scoring points. Ferrari, despite some disqualifications, has a potential for both drivers to score points, and McLaren is doing well. Red Bull is left with just one driver. So what's my take on this? Here's my perspective. People on social media have said, oh, 2 races is too harsh. But we need to remember that these drivers are trained from karting to handle pressure and deliver results right away. No high-level competition in the world will give you years and years of tolerance. You have to show progress to keep your job, and Formula One is no different. You need to deliver results almost immediately or at least show potential for improvement. Liam Lawson, in the 3 races he's completed so far, including the sprint, hasn't shown any progress. On the contrary, he's still struggling. Teams can't afford to keep him, especially Red Bull, which doesn't depend on sponsorship money to retain a driver. So, what happens in this scenario? If Tsunoda's data is solid, and Christian Horner has praised Tsunoda's data from testing with Red Bull, and if Tsunoda adapts better to the car, there's no reason to hesitate. Swap them. I'm not saying replacing Lawson with Colapinto is a good move, but swap them. Put Lawson back at Racing Bulls, as Verstappen himself said that Lawson told him the racing car is much easier to drive. So it's about adaptability. Tsunoda might be, and this is just theory, the driver best suited to adapt to the style that the Red Bull car requires. He's even said, I'm 100% ready. Tsunoda knows this is his chance after being overlooked at the end of last year. I don't see a potential swap in a bad light. Honestly, I know it might seem tough for Lawson, but we're talking about results. This is a competition, not a friendly gathering. In competition, you need results. If you're not performing, you need to go. That's how it works. If this were a world where everyone's friends and there's no real competition, that's a lie. In a competitive environment, you need to handle pressure, adapt, and show results whether you like it or not. So, if it makes more sense for Lawson to move to Racing Bulls and maybe later find success outside Red Bull like Carlos Sainz, Pierre Gasly, and others have done, that might be the best path for him, rather than staying in the Red Bull car. Albon is another example. So, what do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss anything. See you in the next video.